Okay, here's our crypto update. And as always, take a look at the links in the description for the previous videos, Cycles 101. Now, we'll start with ETH. And we had a very clear daily cycle, and this is your daily chart. We had a very clear daily cycle high on day 32. Then we started this downtrend here. And then we made a higher low, didn't refuse to make a low below here. And then we started this little move up, but we've since got rejected. Now, as with all other assets, especially risk assets, the Fed announcement tomorrow at 2 p.m., September 21st, 2 p.m. Eastern time, that's going to be everything here. We're either going to get, a massive rally, or we're going to get a lot more downside. And that's how you want to trade. You want to not necessarily be trying to predict what's going to happen. You want to just react and understand what's happening on multiple time frames to capitalize. For what it's worth, we're kind of consolidating in this low 1300 area, and I talked about this in my tweets. And if you don't follow me on Twitter, please take a look. There's a link in the description. There's a link in the profile to the channel, and I'll also put a link in the description. But this is essentially our gateway to 1,000, right? And we'll see if we hold 1,000. But if we can't hold this 1300 area, we did get a move below 12 to 1280, so that becomes your new kind of line in the sand. And that's why I say these things are zones, not necessarily quote unquote levels. But if we can't hold that 1280, 1300 area, you could see a fast move down to like the 1100 area, the 1,000 area. And then it's a question of, do we get to sub 1,000, and do we spend more time down there? Let me just draw a line, a horizontal line at $1,000 or thereabouts, because I think that's an important visual, right? I mean, look at that. We spent barely any time down there. On this day that marked the low, we closed at 996. So we closed below 1,000 for one day, and then we made a move back up, retested the level, bounced, retested the level, then made a move up. So you would expect some reaction to that level. If we do break below 1,300, we see that waterfall. And if we fail through it that time, then we could see a more sustained period below 1,000, which could end up being an incredible accumulation opportunity. But again, this is an important way to, important kind of visual. We really didn't spend much time below that. Like, again, we closed below it for literally one day, and then we made another dip into the sub 1,000 area, and then we just rallied from there, and this to me is a perfect example of the concept of price rejection, right? Once we get to the 1,000 area, boom, boom. That tells me there were a lot of buyers at 1,000, right? There was a lot of buying to absorb the supply down there. Now, we'll see if that happens again if we get down there. Now, in terms of where we are in our count, if that was day 32, well, let's start from here. So, right? So you're if you want it, you keep drinking hopium almost. You could say your 1280 low is a potential day 67 low, right? Another way to look at it though is maybe this was an early daily cycle low at day 46, like right here. And then we got this rally, and now we failed below this low, so this is a failed daily cycle. And this is a good example of what I call, this is a good example of how to think about, I'm just setting these alerts. This is a good example of how to think about the importance of, price action versus cycles, because ultimately the cycle count matters less than the price action, because making this new low right below this, whether this was a new daily cycle or this is a daily cycle low, doesn't really matter, because this is bearish, right? We don't want to be making lower lows. And the only thing that can resolve this situation is if we start making higher highs and higher lows. And so that's what we're going to watch for. And that would tell us maybe this is a new daily cycle, You know, this is day 67, this would be day 2, and we are moving higher. Or this is our daily cycle top here, right? Like, let's just write this number out. Let's just see. So day 46, let's call that. And then that would make our high here on day 13, right? So that's important to know about, right? Because that is, and that's the other thing. Whether this is a daily cycle high or not, it is a lower high. It's a lower high than this, right? It's a higher high than this, which is good. But like, you got to think about the context there. And so again, this is where you've got to separate cycles from price action, and just make sure that you're prioritizing the right thing. And if you look at Bitcoin, we're now sitting comfortably below 19,000 actually. Or I should say comfortably below 20,000, right? Like, because we're below 19. And I mean, just look at this CPI day. Like, this is a very different looking chart from ETH. I mean, this is much more bearish. We're just kind of drooping down. Again, this is either going to be rescued or punished by the FOMC tomorrow. So we're going to have to see how that turns out. And just to go to the weekly chart for these guys to close this out. So if we think about weekly levels, it looks like we got I'll zoom in ETH here first. It looks like we got our high on week 8. And this is week 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And so I talk about this all the time. If we do see a bullish reversal, this would actually set us up for a bullish outside weekly candle, right? So we made a low below this candle. And so we would now potentially make a high above that candle, above this candle, above this. So basically, last week's candle's high was 1782. That's a nice move from here, right? So like, that would have to happen before Sunday. But if risk assets respond positively to the FOMC, I see no reason why we couldn't get up there. And that gives you a good sort of level to think about in terms of maybe taking some profits, just being a little bit more cautious, seeing how we react. And that would put us well above this swing low here from week 8, which would tell us maybe this weekly cycle is not in decline and we're actually still moving higher. Right, so like, that'll be important to kind of note. So that is ETH. And if we look at Bitcoin, again, looking much weaker. This is week 14. Well, so Bitcoin topped out on week 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, right? So this is week 14. So Bitcoin has the same potential for a bullish outside weekly candle, although it has a lot more work to do because it's red on the week. That would be a move above 22,781. Wow, that would be quite the move. So we'll have to watch this again. A lot will be told. We'll know a lot from the meeting tomorrow. But this certainly has all the look of a bear flag, right? I'll just draw it out just so that it's just like crystal clear for folks, right? You had this like really ugly downdraft, and then you had this, and now you're getting this. So we could see maybe something like this, and then that, right? Doesn't mean just like straight down for the next several months, but like general direction, maybe wobbles in between. We'll have to see. This isn't a prediction; it's a scenario.